Hi, my name is Christopher Sheely. I am a senior in the Master's of Divinity program at Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary of Lenoir-Rhyne in Columbia, South Carolina. This past school year, I was on internship at Grace Lutheran Church in Boone, North Carolina, where Steve Troisi is the pastor. It was there at Grace that I completed my project for the 2020 Hein Fry Book of Faith Challenge. Right at the outset, my project experienced a number of setbacks. I was determined to complete my internship project first before tackling the Book of Faith challenge. As I was finalizing my project plans for the end of March, the coronavirus hit. This delayed my internship project until the middle of May, when I was finally able to revamp my plans and complete the project online. And so my Book of Faith project was then pushed all the way to the beginning of June, very near the end of my internship. And so I am glad that I was able to complete it. I structured my project for the Book of Faith as a 3-week adult Sunday school series for the members of Grace, conducted over Zoom because the church was not meeting in person. For 3 Sundays in a row, we met at 9 o'clock in the morning for an hour to discuss the topic of this year's challenge, the Bible, word, not weapon. Each week, we had a different focus. For the first week, we stepped back and took a big picture view of the Bible, its history, how it came about, what kind of book it is, the varying perspectives on God and the world that it embodies, what it means when we say that Scripture is inspired by God, and what constitutes appropriate use of the Bible. From that discussion, we then talked about how it is possible for people to misconstrue the Bible in such a way that they use these holy words of Scripture to harm others. In week 2, we dove into the details and looked at specific examples of how the Bible has been used as a weapon. We analyzed historical examples such as the Crusades and slavery, and we looked at specific passages from Scripture that have been used to justify these and other atrocities. Finally, we talked about the ways that Scripture is taken out of context and used to do harm to others even today in our own society. In our third and final week, we listed methods that we can use to counteract this trend, or as I put it, to de-weaponize Scripture. I urged my class participants, when considering a passage from Scripture that had been weaponized, to also consider such contextual matters as the time and the place of the passage's composition, the original audience, and the author's intent. And I suggested that by considering such things, it would be less likely for the class participants to use Scripture in a weaponized manner, because they would then understand that the passage was not intended for us to use to harm people. Throughout the 3 weeks of this course, I heard stories from the class participants about how they had experienced weaponized Scripture firsthand, as it had been directed at them, their family members, and their friends. They told me how Scripture used in such a manner had affected them, and what they thought about that, and how it made them feel. We talked about the importance of this topic, and how relevant it is for us today to find ways of addressing weaponized Scripture, and the need for all of us to consider more appropriate uses of the Bible. By the end of the class, we agreed that rather than being used in a harmful manner, the Bible should be used to tell people the story of how God has been at work in the world and to share God's love with others. Those uses do not negate our duty of addressing sinful behaviors within ourselves and in the world, but it is possible for sin to be addressed in a loving manner rather than in ways that are harmful. It is important for us to remember that through the Bible, God is reaching out to us and inviting us to be a part of God's work in the world. The Bible should not be a vessel of divine hatred and wrath, but rather an instrument of God's never-ending love for all creation. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation on my project for the 2020 Heimfrei Book of Faith Challenge. Thank you for watching.